compare the causes of the French Revolution with the American Revolution. What were the key similarities and differences between these two major events in the Western world? So both of these revolutions took place in the second half of the 18th century. The American Revolution is between 1765 and 1780 something, and the French Revolution is in the last decade of the 18th century, about 1789 to 1799. That's the French Revolution. So these two revolutions shared certain key points, certain key ideals, but they arose. The two revolutions took place in very different places. One is the old world, Western Europe, France. The other one is the new conquered world, right? The continent that was being wiped clean of the natives, and it had been taken over by the colonists, who were mainly English and who wanted freedom from the crown in London. So that's what it was. So the two shared many things, but they were also very distinct. One thing, what did they share? What are the things that the two revolutions shared? There was something in Europe called the Enlightenment. Yeah. The Enlightenment, it had these leaders. What were the Enlightenment ideals? What the French called liberté, égalité, fraternité, liberty, equality, fraternity, the sovereignty of the individual, popular sovereignty, that sort of thing. So these are some of the ideals of the European Enlightenment. You had these fantastic, wonderful, deep, profound thinkers like John Locke, like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, like Montesquieu. These people, they uh, shaped the thinking of Europe through their philosophy and through their writings, and they were some of the leading lights of the so-called Enlightenment, and their ideas deeply influenced both of these revolutions. Both revolutions, in both revolutions, you had people who rose up and rebelled against what they perceived as tyranny, governments that were regarded as being as unjust governments. The French, what did they want to do? They wanted to end the absolute monarchy. They wanted rule by the people. And the American colonists, they sought to break free of the political control and, of course, taxation. Money is very important, by Britain. So the British political control and the tax that they had to pay to the King of England, the American colonists sought to break free of that. So there is similarity there. Then there were economic grievances, right? Obviously, economic inequality was a very big deal in France. Exploitation of the common people. So that was one of the central problems in France, and which is why the revolution happened. In France, the poor people were heavily taxed, and in America, the colonists had to pay a 2% tax without any representation. No taxation without representation. So the English crown, it charged a 2% tax on the American colonists. Today, how much income tax do the Americans pay? They rebelled for a 2% tax, right? Because they had to pay a 2% tax. Today, I think the income tax is in excess of 25%. But today, no one rebels. Anyway, that's a different thing. So these are some of the things that these two revolutions had in common. Right? So the French Revolution, it took place because of this terrible alleged economic inequality, this terrible alleged social injustice that the system imposed on the poor people, and the absolute monarchy, which was terrible. And the American Revolution was all about taxation without representation and colonial independence from Britain. They wanted to govern their own country. They wanted to have their own land. They wanted North America to be their land. And the French, they opposed the King Louis the 15th, 16th, 15th, whichever it was. You can look it up. and the entrenched nobility, aristocracy, all of that. And the American Revolution, it opposed the King of England. It was, I think, George the Third, right? And so on. So the French Revolution, its goals. What are the goals? The goals were to radically restructure society, French society, the complete abolition of monarchy, the complete purging of society of anybody who, was part of the nobility, of the aristocracy. The guillotine was a great tool for doing that. Off with their heads, that sort of thing. The French wanted everyone to have equality under law, and they wanted to have laicite, a secular state. And the American Revolution was all about achieving political independence from England and self-governance while maintaining social order. Obviously, you can genocide the natives, that's fine. They're savages, like the American Declaration of Independence says. But social order, which is under the rule of law by the white man, that sort of thing. And the outcome, obviously, was warfare. In France, you had this violent upheaval in this decade-long, pretty chaotic transition towards dictatorship under Napoleon, essentially, right? So they moved from one form of autocracy to another form of autocracy in France. And in America, you had a stable democratic republic that emerged under the US Constitution. Democratic only in name, obviously, because the women could not participate in the democracy, nor could the blacks, nor could the natives. So democracy only for the chosen few. That's what it was. So the American Revolution was a struggle for independence. It was a struggle for governance reform. And the French Revolution was a mass social movement, mass social revolt, revolution, upheaval to completely transform the nature of society in France. And both of these drew inspiration from the ideas, the ideals of the European Enlightenment, Montesquieu, Rousseau, John Locke, and so on, right? And yeah, so that's kind of a comparative analysis of the two revolutions. Significant similarities, but major differences as well between these two events.